Imagine being trapped under tons of snow, buried alive, with no air, no light, and no way out. What would you do? There's a sound that most people will never hear, the sound of a mountain collapsing. It doesn't roar like thunder, it doesn't scream like a storm. It's heavier than that, like the earth itself is breaking apart, rolling, rushing, swallowing everything in its path. Now imagine standing right in its way. 1 second you're carving down fresh powder, the cold air stinging your cheeks, your chest pounding with adrenaline, and the next, silence. White. Then weight. Crushing weight. And suddenly you realize you're not skiing anymore. You're not even standing. You're buried. Buried alive. And you have maybe 15 minutes of air before your body gives out. That was the reality for Daniel, a man who loved the mountains so much he almost died in them. This is his story. Daniel wasn't reckless. He was cautious, measured, but he was also addicted to freedom, to solitude, to the feeling of flying down snow-draped slopes where the world melted away. The mountains were his sanctuary. And that day, he wasn't alone. A few friends had joined him on a remote backcountry trip. Fresh snow had fallen overnight, thick and heavy, the kind that sparkled under the sun like diamonds. The air was crisp, still, the kind of silence that only comes after a storm. And for Daniel, it was perfect. But what none of them knew was that hidden beneath that powder was a fragile layer of unstable snow, a ticking time bomb. If you've ever been in avalanche country, you know the rules. Check the forecasts, watch the slopes, listen to the snow, and if you hear a low, muffled whoomph under your skis, it's not a sound you forget. It's the mountain whispering a warning. Daniel heard it once that morning, a faint collapse beneath his weight. His stomach dropped, but his friends brushed it off. "It's fine, just keep moving." And so he did. But the mountain was waiting. It happened fast, so fast his brain didn't register at first. He'd just dropped into a wide open slope when the world beneath him cracked. The snow didn't slide, it fractured, the ground split like shattered glass, and the whole face of the mountain began to move. The sound, Daniel would never forget it. A deep, rolling thunder that came from below, not above. The snow around him surged forward, dragging him with him like a rag doll. He tried to ski out, to angle toward the side, but it was hopeless. The avalanche was too big, too fast, too hungry, and within seconds, he was no longer skiing. He was tumbling, spinning, weightless yet crushed. His poles ripped away, his goggles filled with snow, his chest slammed against unseen rocks, and then darkness. When Daniel opened his eyes, there was nothing. No sky, no light, just black. The snow had packed tight around him, pressing against his chest, sealing off his arms. He couldn't move, could barely breathe. Each inhale felt like sucking air through a straw. He was buried alive, and the clock was ticking. Here's what most people don't realize. When an avalanche buries you, the snow sets like concrete. You can't just dig your way out. Your arms are pinned, your legs are locked, you're entombed. And worse, the air pocket you have won't last long. Most avalanche victims suffocate within 15 minutes. Daniel knew this, and panic clawed at the edges of his mind. But panic would kill him faster than the snow, so he fought it back. Here's where instinct and training kicked in. Daniel had read survival stories before. He'd taken avalanche safety courses. He knew that if he lost control of his mind, he'd lose everything. So he focused, breathed slow, save oxygen, don't waste energy. But there was another problem. He didn't know which way was up. Inside an avalanche, you lose all sense of direction. For some, gravity feels reversed. People have literally tried digging deeper into the snow, thinking they were clawing toward the surface. Daniel had one trick: spit. He spat carefully, waited, felt the saliva trickle. Down. Okay, so up was the opposite. Now he had his bearings. But there was still the question, would anyone find him in time? On the surface, his friends had watched in horror as the slope collapsed. They shouted his name, scanned the white chaos. But when the avalanche settled, Daniel was gone. Just gone. The mountain looked untouched, as if it had swallowed him whole. But they knew they had minutes, only minutes to act. They tore off their packs, grabbed their avalanche beacons, and started searching. Beep, beep, beep. Louder, faster. His signal was still alive. They probed with long poles, stabbing the snow, desperate to hit something solid. And underground, Daniel heard nothing, just the pounding of his own heart. Down below, Daniel was running out of air. The carbon dioxide in his tiny pocket was building, burning his lungs. His fingers tingled, his chest felt like it was on fire. And that's when the darkness pressed in harder, not just from the snow, but from his own mind. He thought of his family, his parents, his little sister who had begged him to be safe. He thought of the unfinished things in his life, the words he never said. Regret is heavy, heavier than snow. And in that moment, he felt it crushing him more than the mountain itself. But then, something shifted. A sound, faint, a vibration, a muffled voice, far away. A hope. The probe hit something, solid, a muffled thud. Here, he's here. Above, hands clawed at the snow, shovels tearing into the frozen weight. Every second mattered. Every scoop of snow was borrowed time. And below, Daniel's vision blurred. His breaths came shallow. Then, light. A crack. A rush of cold air. Hands grabbing him, pulling him free. And suddenly, the world exploded back into color. The sky, the sun, the faces of his friends streaked with tears and snow. Daniel gasped, choking on the sweetest breath of air he ever took. He was alive. Survival doesn't end the moment you're pulled out. Daniel's body was hypothermic, battered, bruised, his mind shaken to the core. But lying there, shivering in the snow, he realized something. The mountain gave him a second chance. Most don't get that chance. Every year, hundreds of people are caught in avalanches. Most don't make it home. Daniel did, and he would never forget why. Not just because he kept calm, not just because he fought, but because his friends didn't give up. Survival isn't just about the will to live. It's about the people who refuse to let you die. When Daniel tells his story now, his voice always softens at the end, because he knows how close he came, how the mountain almost claimed him, and he knows something else. Life is fragile. Every breath is borrowed. Every moment is a gift. So, the next time you stand on a mountain or watch snow falling quietly from the sky, remember, beauty and danger often live side by side, and sometimes the line between life and death is as thin as a snowflake.
If this story moved you, don't just leave it here. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that hope survives, even in the darkest places. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and join me next time for another journey you'll never forget.